Parents kicked me out at 18 for refusing to pay rent. I left, and a week later they accused me of running away and stealing money. So I published a post and exposed their lies, and then my rich grandmother called them. While most of my friends' families revolved around their parents, in our house, my grandmother was the one who really called the shots. And honestly, she had every right to. She'd built our family's exclusive tableware store from nothing, turning it into a thriving business that made her quite wealthy. Your grandmother has always had an eye for beautiful things. My father would say whenever customers praised our store's collection. He and my mother ran the day-to-day operations now, but everyone knew who the real owner was. My grandmother had only stepped back to enjoy her retirement, not to give up control. My younger brother Tommy was being groomed as the heir apparent from the moment he could walk. He needs to learn everything about the business. My mother would say while practically ignoring my existence. It didn't seem to matter that I was getting straight as while Tommy could barely be bothered to crack open a book. Who needs to be smart to run a store? Tommy would say, sprawled on the couch playing video games instead of doing his homework. I just need to know how to count money. Our parents would laugh at these comments like they were adorable, while I sat at the dining table working on my advanced math problems. But I have my secret weapon, Grandma. Every weekend, I'd go to her house and we'd play what she called business games. She taught me everything about running a successful store, from inventory management to customer service, from profit margins to negotiating with suppliers. Now, Rachel, she'd say, setting up our pretend store on her living room table. If a customer wants to buy this crystal wine set for $500, but our cost was $200, what's our profit margin? Her eyes would twinkle as I quickly calculated the numbers. That's a 60% margin, Grandma. I'd answer excitedly. But we should consider our overhead costs too. Right? She'd beam at me, pulling another gift from her seemingly endless supply. That's my girl. You understand business better than most adults I know. These sessions with Grandma weren't just fun. They sparked something in me. While my parents were busy preparing Tommy to inherit the store, I was making my own plans. I decided I would go to college and study business properly. When I turned 14, my life changed dramatically. I still remember that evening as if it was yesterday. My parents called me into the living room after dinner, and my father's stern face told me this wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. Rachel, he said, looking at me with cold eyes, your mother and I have been talking. It's time for you to stop being lazy and help out with the family business. Starting tomorrow, you'll work at the store after school. The next day, I started my new job at our family store. Every day after school, while my brother Tommy went home to play video games and mess around, I was mopping floors, dusting shelves, arranging expensive china, and doing whatever else needed to be done. I worked hard, determined to prove myself. Sometimes I'd stay late into the evening, making sure every crystal glass sparkled and every display was perfect. After 3 months of working alongside the adult employees, I started noticing something that bothered me more and more. Every Friday, all the employees would receive their paychecks. They'd discuss weekend plans and what they were going to do with their earnings. Meanwhile, I worked just as hard, sometimes harder, but received nothing. One evening when the store was empty, except for my parents counting the day's earnings at the register, I gathered my courage and approached them. Mom, Dad, I started nervously. I've been thinking. I'm doing the same work as the other employees. Actually, I'm doing multiple jobs. Shouldn't I be getting paid too? The look they exchanged made my blood run cold. My father's face hardened and my mother's lips pressed into a thin line. Paid? My father scoffed. Do you have any idea how much we spend on you? Food, clothes, that roof over your head, you think all that's free? But that's different, I argued. Parents are supposed to. Don't you dare tell us what parents are supposed to do, my mother snapped. Consider your work here as payment for everything we provide for you. Many children would be grateful for such an arrangement. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but fought to hold them back. That's when my mother stepped closer, her voice dropping to a threatening whisper that I'll never forget. And let me make something very clear, she hissed. Don't even think about running to your grandmother with this. This is our business to run as we see fit. If I find out you've complained to her, you'll regret it. Understood? For 2 long years, I worked without pay, watching other employees receive their weekly paychecks while I got nothing but tired feet and calloused hands. But as my 16th birthday approached, I made a decision that would change everything. The day after my birthday, I walked into my parents' office with my head held high. I quit. I announced firmly. My father's head snapped up from his paperwork. What did you just say? I'm not working here anymore. I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I need my own money.